Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I am your host, Kim Wanup. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone is having safe travels and being with friends and family and being thankful for all the good things and thankful that that we're all here. Let's just be thankful for that. How about that? I have a great and very inspiring episode for Thanksgiving, I feel like. Production designer Michael Fitzgerald talks about his sweet and empowering, really just, I can't wait to show it to my kids. That's all I'm going to say. Disney movie, Out of My Mind. So we will get into that in a little bit. If you hear kids in the background, my kids are upstairs playing Monster with my husband, which is not exactly quiet, but I'm getting a moment to myself. So here we go. Is anyone ready to vote for the ADG Awards? What? How is it that time of year again? It's crazy. Submissions are already in. You had to have submitted your projects by now, I believe. But if you go to it's adg.org and you go into awards and you go into nominees, and then you can look at all of the design presentations, these fantastic projects. And they all have their presentations up to be judged for nomination and then for the final award. And I dork out constantly looking at these things and looking at our own that are submitted. I am very lucky to have 2 shows submitted this year, one in contemporary for Dr. Odyssey and one for half-hour single camera with A Man on the Inside, which I know that I went on last week about how great and heartfelt that show is, but I am so genuinely touched with people reaching out to me, telling me how much they enjoyed the show. And that I want to forward everything to Mike Schur and Morgan Sackett and tell them how much people are appreciating the show. It's fantastic, and I'm savoring it. I've only watched 5 episodes. I've also had a hell of a lot going on, but I I don't know. There are projects that aren't the most, you know, they're not DC Comics. They're not big blockbuster films. But there are shows that you work on or have worked on or will work on that just tug at your heart. And it's more than a passion project. It's just perfect. It's the environment you want to be in. It's the material you want to be a part of. It's positive output. It's awesome. Again, A Man on the Inside on Netflix. It's fantastic. I'm not saying Dr. Odyssey isn't that. Dr. Odyssey is a different kind of show for a different kind of mood, and it's fun, and it looks great, and it's Don Johnson, and there you go. But so anyway, getting back, I have 2 on there, and I'm sure other people have beautiful presentations. I've looked at a bunch of them. I especially looked at the Penguin because I will have that episode coming up with production designer Kalina Ivanov and set decorator Rich Murray. So that will be coming up also. Let's talk about what Wanup's watching. I watched that Martha documentary about Martha Stewart. Fantastic. What a life. I mean, she really built it from nothing into an empire, and the jail took it all away. It's really good, and she's in it. No holds barred. Like, she says whatever she wants as usual. So that documentary I would definitely recommend. I started the new Cher book. What a life. What another woman with an incredible life of just her grandmother, and her mother's upbringing is crazy, and her upbringing is crazy. Crazy shit happened to Cher. Like, nuts. I'm only up to She Met Sonny, and they just released I Got You, Babe. So that's where I'm at. And she's like 19 years old. Crazy. Um, so yeah, that's what I've done. Haven't done much of anything else because I had my twins' birthday party, successful birthday party this weekend. Parents are in town, prepping for Thanksgiving. I went to the Eagles Rams game. Birds. Birds, baby. All right. So let's get to this. On this week's Decorating Pages, I am joined by production designer Michael Fitzgerald to explore the intricate and heartfelt design process behind Disney's Out of My Mind. Michael shares how he created accessible and authentic sets to reflect the groundbreaking story of Melody Brooks, a nonverbal sixth grader with cerebral palsy. From meticulously designing every detail of Melody's home and school to a whiz kiz game show that Michael reveals the creative challenges and rewarding moments of bringing this story to life. So, it is a Disney movie about a girl with cerebral palsy, and we talk a lot about these design challenges and the reality of people with disabilities in their homes and things you might not think of regularly, or looking at the set to be like, why are those cabinets off? Or why are the drawer cabinets off? So we go a lot into that, building, taking a hole out of the wall so that parents have view of kids in another room. So there's and the school system and how they are dealing with this design wise. So it's very interesting. It's was a book. I didn't read it, but it was a book made into a movie for Disney. It's on Disney Plus right now. I laughed, I cried, I I can't wait to show this to the boys at one point. And I think as a parent, it's important to show kids projects like this in dealing with people with you who are a little different. And why are they different? And they still have they still think, they still have opinions. Obviously, they're still just one of us, just different. And I'm excited to show them this at one day. I think it's a perfect example of how to treat people and what they're feeling and what they're going through. So I hope you enjoy. Because you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, even though we have great weather here, it's like you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I've done a deep dive of your show for the last few weeks, and
Oh.
it's incredible. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for doing the show. It's so fun. It's been all my rides to Santa Clarita.
Oh, yeah.
It's been adorable, and
Oh, thank you.
it's really thank you for having me, and thank you for doing the show.
Oh,
It's
well,
really,
thank you for doing it because I'm nothing without people wanting to, like, talk about the work and explain to everyone how much we put into it.
I know exactly. It's supposed to be so unseen, but actually,
Oh, let me ma
it's a lot that we do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a ton. I'm also in my kids' room because my husband had to this is why it looks like this.
I love. Well,
Which
that's
is
great.
actually colorful for, like.
And it's also Mrs. V's color and our Whiz Kid color.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you really stepped up for me
I
today.
forget what the name of this color is, but I have, like, a gray-orange theme for them, and I just love that, like, pop of color. I love color. I love, like, everything in this world of, like, the pinks and the oranges and everything that you did was, like, so, like, oh, intense, like, so great
Yeah,
for educational minds and, uh
yeah, it's fun.
let me start with how'd you get involved?
So Amber and I actually go back to when we were teenagers. So we
Oh,
worked
wow.
at Shakespeare Santa Cruz way back. She still thinks I went to school there, but I actually went to I worked there. That was my summer job, and I was going to UCLA Theater School. But it was when repertory Shakespeare was a big deal, like Bryan Cranston was doing A Doll's House,
Oh, wow.
so it was all these great actors from that time were working.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
she went to school there. And so we became really good friends. She went to London, came back, and she started making these kind of little mumblecore films. And then any film she did, I helped her. So her shorts, her features, and then finally she did her first feature. And then the big feature we did was No Man of God
Mhm.
before this with Luke Kirby, which you get to see him as both
Yeah,
Ted Bundy and then this wonderful dad in our movie.
yeah,
So he has a range,
he's great.
so does Amber and I. So yeah, it was so that was I've been her kind of her designer from the beginning.
That's so great to have it, like, because then you develop this shorthand and then like, "We're
It's
doing
huge.
this, right? Yep, yep, okay, good, let me go."
It's
Yeah.
insane. And she all the detailed stuff that's in this is all from our relationship, and going through videos and talking to families and parents and kids that have this, have CP or are in a chair, that all that work went into there. So we could do all that prep work even before we started the film. So that was great.
Did you know of the book before you started?
I did only because she kind of put it out to me. Yeah. I had some other teenager friends, because now it's a pretty well-known book for
Yeah.
kids to read, which is great, and I hope now even more so.
Yeah.
Sharon's now written the third one. It's coming out at the same time, which is great. The
Oh,
writer.
that's great.
So there's a series of three really, and they're just she's delightful, and the books are incredible. And so I think hopefully it'll become required reading and required viewing. Hopefully,
I honestly, I mean, smiled and cried in the movie and
yeah,
thought to myself, at what age do I make my boys watch this? Like
yeah,
there's like a like they need people need to see this because it's important of educating people how to treat people. and
big time.
and
No,
I don't know.
yeah,
I'm like 8. So is 8 too young?
well, it's because I just rewatched the end again, and it's that I love that Amber included all the different kids, and some of these are background that are, and the one kid that can't look at her at the very end,
Mhm.
that's just down.
Yeah.
And I got very close. Also, one of our consultants was a dad and son team, Tom and Richard Ellison, and Tom lived this exactly. In 2001, he was nonverbal, and then even his father, Thomas, they created the first. I think that's in the slides at some point, the tango,
Mm.
because so we kind of had to set this in 2001 because of
Right.
the devices. Now you have
Right.
the iPad, but in 2001 they didn't.
Right.
And they actually created something. And then Sharon actually wrote into her book, The Meta Talker. That's a whole made up thing, The Meta Talker. Which is I had it on my little bag, little Meta
I
Talker.
am. That's so good. Printed on a bag.
Um, but where I go with where I'm kind of this is a longer story to tell you this, but that Tom, I got very close with them off the set, and he's nonverbal and uses his machine, and he and I can have insane long conversations. Are amazing. He loves musicals as much as me. It's incredible. But I remember being outside and watching people stare at like people that were not a part of our show come and the stares that he would get in his chair. And I think that's something that you could really
Yeah.
something you could teach your children is
Yeah.
just there's to not be afraid of it, to not be afraid of the chair. I think that's
Yeah.
the big thing is this fear that the fear-based part of it.
Yeah.
So whenever you feel like that's the right time to teach them, because it's like that's Tom. I was like, I'm talking to Tom. Like, I was like, Tom, are you a celebrity? Like, what's happening? It was just like, no, it's just this intrigue of these little kids thinking this chair is
Yeah.
something that unusual to them.
And it's especially with smaller children, it's innocent, but
Of course.
it's
Yeah.
curiosity, but it's still there. And I think as anything, the earlier you're taught things, the more you know in your brain, oh, that's normal for them, or like that's what happened and this
Correct.
is what it is. And yeah, and then we move, then I start staring at something else. Like they're not
Yeah.
doing it to be at a certain innocent level, the younger ones. But then this deals with so much of like I just it's one thing as a parent, like the bullying or like anyone talking bad or like how are they going to deal with the situation, like this film deals so much with that. And also I think your impact in design of the spaces and the colors and everything, you've really related a lot of that in your design of the film, which I think I really
For sure.
appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, and just getting it's authentic because also I want a family. I wanted just as much as I wanted it to be correct for Tom, any family. I think so. That was Amber and I getting really early on with the research of just this is for you as a subject writer. It's like there's
Yeah.
in a when you have a chair in a family, you don't put things in the middle of the room.
No.
Like
Yeah.
end tables went away. Like coffee tables are not functional for a family that
Yeah.
has a child with a chair.
Yeah.
And then some of those slides, I sent of like just drawers trying to
Yeah.
also flip side, taking the fronts off of drawers. That was like a family that took us through their house. That way also, because they're treating Melody, Phoebe as another family member, she can sometimes set the table. Like everybody has their duties. We're a family
Yeah.
that's got a lot going on. So
Yeah.
by just taking the drawers off, she can put the silverware, she can do the, like we're not treating you, you gotta do the things you gotta do too. And I think that part of that family mentality that both kind of these wonderful parents, that Rose and Luke play that just they're committed and this was also even picking the location, which was really fun because Amber and I wanted a house. They bought the house as young parents before even Melody was born, and it had stairs.
Right.
And their first child has CP. They're like, "Hey, we can't move,
Right.
so we have to reconvene a room downstairs," which we did. We totally reconvened a room downstairs, but they're still going to function with this,
Yeah.
and I think that part is just you want to find like those obstacles, which I thought was really, obstacles that then how do you handle those obstacles, but with truth and heart, ideally.
It's such a cute neighborhood. Where is the location and how was scouting for that?
That was Toronto, and I had a great location guy, Malcolm, who found a neighborhood that we could film in, basically, which was great. It was like a cul-de-sac, it was perfect. But then it was finding the house.
Yeah.
And so, actually, I kinda went through, like, 10 of those houses in that little neighborhood, and finally, this house had the stairs, it did not have an open plan. She really wanted an open plan, but I found this couple, they owned another one around the corner, and they were just open to it, and basically, we had to cut a huge hole in the middle of their house that they did not want, in the living room kitchen. Like, but
Yeah.
I knew they were open to it, and it was like, and also
You're
I
like
love deep.
knocking on their walls like, "Is this bearing? Like, what's going
Oh,
on?"
completely. And I always manage expectations. I'm like, I know I can make it this big, but bring. I had the
Yeah.
best construction coordinator, this guy Mark, who came, and I was like, how big? How big? And of course, Amber and the DP Noah wanted as big as we can. I'm like, I know I can do this. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I could do this, but I don't want the house to fall down. And we also knew we'd have to put it back. Like they're like, won't they want it? I'm like, no, she loves the way her house is, but she doesn't mind that we're going to do it. That was the big
Yeah.
thing.
That's
But
nice.
also, it meant I changed so much of that. Like they had doors that we woodified, and then the whole ramp. Obviously, we built her the ramp, and just we had to do a lot of alterations, and then but it was perfect. It was like the perfect house to
You
film
know,
in.
some people, we go in their houses, we make adjustments, they like it, and then they keep
Right.
a lot of times. They always seem to keep the drapery, but I don't. The
She
hole
likes
in
it
the
too. We
wall
don't know
is
which that is.
a commitment. The hole in the wall is a commitment. I could
Yeah,
see,
and she
like,
could cook. Yeah, she just wasn't,
yeah,
but she let me do, like, the big thing is finding owners that, are okay with you doing it. But then, like, Rose's house, her friend, that was right around the corner, and then that whole beautiful Halloween scene, which was
yeah.
gorgeous, that neighborhood, and so it was, and they really were open to us being there for several weeks, which, thank gosh. Yeah, it
It's
was.
it's so nice to have the practical location. I mean, did you have builds?
Not very
Yeah,
much, no, I mean, because then Mrs. V's was right next door too.
right.
That was also the big thing, was finding the house, that she could run, and, like, creating anything for Judith Light, like, that she could run and bring her pumpkins. I mean, like, have she's just heaven in
She's
every
great.
word, and
She's
that's really
great.
colors behind you, her house.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the big I had the best construction team I probably had with this guy, Mark and Sue, my scenic. I made their builds be the thing. So, like, planetarium was all built from scratch, all
right.
those beautiful structures. And then I hilariously tried to show you, like, then I had
I
to
know.
make into mall pieces. I'm like,
I
I
have
don't, I
that.
reuse anything.
Because that's
um,
important. I mean, if that's what happens, I mean, budgets and timing and everything, and like, how can we reuse this wall? How much can I reuse this bed or, and it happens. Like, we just don't have time and money.
Totally, and the mall was really just a quick scene, but I
Yeah.
got a big empty space, and I was like, "How do I do this?" I'm like, "I can give you guys this and curtains." It was really a dance, but I think what the big thing is, I wanted it to be interactive for her, and it was really, and it was important to Disney too. It was like this special moment that she gets to have her
Yeah.
first day of her life,
Yeah.
and to watch her going through everything, and, like, I basically figured out with picked all the different clothing that, like, of course, everybody kidnapped, like, Amber's daughter now is still wearing all that clothes from the store, like,
I know.
but it was, but when she grabs the tiara, that was totally Phoebe, actress Phoebe, knowing really smartly, grab that thing, then it's gonna carry all the way through, and then she would play with it while she's dancing. I mean, her natural instincts are insane as an actress. Like, it was just, but I loved having the real, everything was real. Like, she didn't have to,
Yeah.
it was stuff she could use. The makeup was everything she could play around with and
She's
do. So
great.
oh, she's phenomenal.
She was great.
Yeah,
I was like looking into her, I was like, wow. I mean, I could see limitations in a day, but like a shooting day is really hard on people on set. I don't even work on set. I could never work on set, but
right.
having like a
I've heard that. You're like, I tap out. You're like,
yeah,
you're
I'm
starting to
out.
move my couch.
Yeah, I'm out. It
Right.
gives me anxiety. You're starting to move my shit. So but I mean, the people who like the 12, 14-hour days of it. Now I know kids have different limitations and everything, but it's still a lot. It's a lot
No,
to be on set.
well, and actually, this is a big one that I learned. So, of course, we're 2001, and so chairs are much more advanced now, and her chair was much more advanced. So, our first kind of research, we're like, oh, we're going to get our 2001 chair. We're going to get doubles of this chair that's like a period chair. Biggest disaster ever.
Right.
And finally, kind of meeting with her, and her was like, no, we're going to hide the anachronistic things on her chair, because her chair is completely works to her back and all of her different stuff. Also, she has power in it, she has
Right.
speed. But
Right.
I was like, we'll have a few rules. Like, her chair can go up and down really quickly. I'm like, it just stays one, it'll be up where we want it or down. but it allowed her to maneuver. Talk about accessibility. She could maneuver everywhere and be in power. Like,
Right.
and allow her to be, on set for the hours she had. I mean, we still had children hour, like 16.
Yeah.
She, or she was like 13 or 14 at the time. I mean, now she's 16, but it's still really long days. But she was, I mean, she loved every second. She's incredible. She has an amazing support network. Her mom and her sisters were there. It was a huge help. And her dad is a sweetheart. They're all great.
I do love too the Halloween scene, and you have like doing Halloween for costumes is usually like, ugh, forget it.
Right.
And
Right.
then doing Halloween, but integrating it into her chair, and having that theme. I thought that was really really clever and really smart. It was really good. Is I see I'm at a downfall because I haven't read the book, so I don't know if that was in the book or I don't know what you've altered.
It's like I forget some of the I don't remember if that was in the book, but I just know that that was a big thing that Amber and I did. I mean, it's funny because my dad had a plastic company growing up, so one of my first outfits was like a Pac-Man with all the plastic. So I
Yeah.
had a picture of that to Amber, and I'm like, I'm going with this. And there's few things we can do, ourselves, but on weekends, I had a lot of friends visit. I'm always like, I'm coming, I'm somewhere out of town, come visit. So almost every person that came put some part of that. That would just be the thing to do on the
Oh,
weekend, like put
fun.
something on this outfit. Cause I always feel like there's got to be something that like there was something in every film that I'm like, let's put a lot of energy and crafting into it. So that was that outfit. So to have her be so excited, and then I had an amazing team. You can see all the stuff that was built, like that
Yeah.
classroom, Mr. Dimming's classroom. Every single thing in that is built from scratch. So I had like this insane art team making crafting every day. So it was
Classrooms are hard. I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds simple and everything, but it's
no,
hard. It's hard to do classrooms and not overdo or underdo or like you also have to think of like what is the class system, like you know what I mean? Like what part of town is this in? And I mean,
right.
I'm gonna share your.
Well, and Mr. Dimmings is interesting because he's not he's sort of the villain in our story, but I didn't
Yeah.
want him to, like his class needs to be aspirational. Like
Yeah.
we want to be in his class. And when we end in his, not to
He's still
bring
a
it back.
teacher. I mean, he still cares about the he's really
And
into
he's a
the
great teacher.
quiz.
Right. He just does exactly. He's very obsessed with that.
Yeah.
But every single like I had our team of Talia, Heather, Genevieve, Jordan, Emily. Everybody was making art almost every day for that class, like for like 3 or 4 weeks to be able to get that classroom to where it was. Because it was just an empty space that they were about to tear down, of course.
Oh, so I'll ask when we get to that. I'll ask about
Okay.
the
Yeah.
thing. But this is the home, the Brooks
This is our
residence home.
yes.
So
Yeah.
this location, and you have your drawing there of cutting out the
The
window
That's
into
little and
and
it got bigger and bigger. It even got a little bit bigger, but it was like managing expectations. Yeah, there it is.
these
And
but also when you're doing that, there's a like people you it's because you have to watch your kid. I mean, that's
that was the other huge thing.
yeah.
And then Amber is an incredible filmmaker, and she had so many great scenes where you're watching, like when Rose is waiting while she's with her friend Rose,
Yeah.
and Mom is in the kitchen, just seeing how this interaction is going, getting to watch her reaction is amazing. Or
Yeah.
and that like just all these different moments. She wanted to capture how families are dealing with it, but not
Yeah.
showing.
Yeah.
And so I think that window was huge, the open plan idea, but also that there's a little bit of, there's still privacy in a way. So I mean, it worked out really incredible. But yeah,
There's a great scene where the mom's in the kitchen and the friend is in the living room, and it's almost like a split screen with that wall right
exactly.
there that you have that picture of.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's like it's heartbreaking because you're like, I don't want to listen in, but I want to make sure everything's okay. And
I
it's
know.
so
And yeah, and then it's like, and she's so worried. And then Rose is more excited by Penny, and like
yeah,
it's like, oh, and does she not know what she had no idea. She thought, and it's also Mom didn't have any idea that
yeah.
it was who Rose was going to be. So then I was like,
First time having a friend over.
yeah.
I do I don't what is your decorator's name? Because now I forgot to remember.
I had Evan as a decorator, and then I had incredible buyers too, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then, one thing I wanted to talk about on your show is the onset dresser. I had this incredible
Oh,
onset dresser, Deborah,
mm.
who, by the way, I like this is something I want to start in a campaign, but having the onset dressers come to Tech Scouts, like I've
Oh
been
my
trying
God.
to
Would
slowly
that be a
start.
dream?
because they are the secret, like, it's casting one of the most important people. They are, for both of us, they are the front line of our work,
Yes.
completely. So I had she was angelic. Like, she was so in for all of the little things that Amber wanted. It's all the little things she wanted to show, the drawing in the corner, all
Yeah.
the stuff that was telling story. And she was down for that. So that really helped.
The sets are incredibly layered and lived in and like really great. I mean, I pause things and look at it all the time. Like, what did they do? Oh, all the drawings over there and the but this and that. Because I also see as you see, like sometimes you look and you're like, oh, it's crowded and it's just stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're just like, oh, you're just putting stuff there. But when you're doing homes like this and it's meaningful, like this is why this flower is here. This is why, these books are here. This is why
Right.
this isn't here. There's another
Right.
thing. So it's incredibly, important to have the layering, to have the looked in, but it is the onset dressers getting that into the frame
Oh, yeah.
and
Well,
get
and
it
then
in
we have
there.
Penny, like, I planned the whole thing with the cabinet and Penny in the opening, dumping out all those games. It's like, but you have to reset all that, like, figure all that out and play with,
I have
6-year-old
that.
actors and everything. Um,
Wait, I have this here that what you're talking about, the drawers being open so you can access
yeah,
them.
and then really came from research, like building, and also like that we wanted it still scotch taped at the end and the bottom. You see like the wooden handle. It's like,
Yeah.
Chuck made it, Dad made it, but there you go. And then this kind of big, like we also really wanted then the scene where both Melody and Penny are on the ground when Dr. Catherine comes over, like that they're on the ground.
Yeah.
She's like trying to,
So
she's like, Mom was, like, I know what's going on. This is my savior. This is like, please say yes to this,
I
what we
know.
think our kids don't hear, but they know everything that's going on. I love that Amber and they really show that with this story. Is huge.
It's a great scene and it's one of the many where she's just struggling to be heard, even though
Right.
she can't speak. It's great. But here is the at first I thought because I didn't realize at first I just looked at it and thought the cabinets like, oh, that's great because you just don't want to look at cabinets the whole time. Like if you can look into
Right.
things and dress it, that's great.
That was part of it too, sure.
And then I saw the drawers and I was like, "Oh, that's really on purpose for the kids." Like then I clicked to me. Like at first I went decorator and then I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh no, this is a real thing."
that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make things accessible and beautiful all at the same time. And backsplash, all the things we do, like every single thing in that is curated. I think I
Yeah.
love curating, but also making sure that everything is useful.
Yeah.
It's like, and everything would be in
Realistic.
that.
I mean,
Uh,
I also love to it's hard to place art when you don't have it perfect. Do you know what I mean?
right.
And this is realistic. This to me is like did they shoot it in this people's house? Like this is fantastic. Like
That's
you
great.
just put stuff up and
Yeah.
I love that and I love the like the kids stuff integrated and
The
it's
humanity and stuff on the stairs as it's
really good layering.
like there's some families and not, like, and then the little characters on the right, because it's like we're foreshadowing what's going to happen toward three-fourths of the way, which, not to ruin it for anyone, what might happen, like with what Penny does with those. So I think
Yeah.
that was hilarious. Yeah, I'm just talking about color with Amber because she will not love you. Amber hates the color purple, which is hilarious. So, some directors.
Yeah.
And so this wallpaper that we did on the stairs, Heather and I designed it and it was great. And she approved it and she thought it was more blue. And then it came out and she's like, it's more purple. And so luckily in color timing, we got it a
Color
little better.
timing.
But I love it. It's just like, I love our relationship that it's like, there's just everything we can talk about. And it's my favorite part, like, it's the favorite part of the job. It's like, because also your director has to still look at it and editing blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
So,
Be distracted by things and there
right.
is though something that I just ran into and this like sometimes people have opinions of their own and it shouldn't be the opinion of this project.
Totally. It's so true.
So
But
just because
yeah,
I'm not saying I don't know her, but seeing you don't like purple, purple might be very intricate
I
into
know,
this girl's
I know.
world. Like
Great. Luckily, she was not afraid of color, thank
yeah,
gosh. So she loved everything else I did, so
yeah.
it's good.
And the color, I love the pink. I had a pink bedroom. I love pink. I think it's just so great for a girl's room. This is your mood board for her, for
Yeah,
Melody's.
well, and that's the good thing for other people to watching the show is also I start to sneak in colors very early, even
Mm,
in my mood boards, and the actual colors these days. Because sometimes you get, we're in the future when we start filming,
yeah,
and it's like they forget, and I'm like, hey, and by that time, if I'm like, hey, is it okay that I'm going this wacky colors in her room? It's too late, and then I have to already give it to Scenics and and
yeah.
so I introduced on purpose. This was like she saw this before we even, everybody kind of approved this in a way before we even started filming. So it's like there was no surprises.
So
And then even I could do the principal's office in the same colors, which was fun. Like I tried to make some
yeah.
connections. Like, sorry, you're about to ask a
Oh
question.
no, I was saying I was looking at your floor plan that you have here of the floor plan of the house. So
Oh yeah,
I would think too, not just finding this house in this cozy little neighborhood, but you had to find somewhere where you could make a bedroom on the first floor.
right. That was the other big one. And this was like a weird, like the whole closet thing we created, it built over a weird fireplace. So it's
Mm,
where it's like we didn't do stage work, but there was a lot of build.
yeah,
And then and to have this great window world. But yeah, because some of them we looked and it was like they had the mother-in-law unit, but it was in the back.
right.
We wanted her to feel still like she was at home, even though she had to live downstairs. So that was, but this was all truthful completely, which was really great. And then you could have those wide shots and you're seeing her closet in the background and her like I love when you can connect all the nooks of
Yeah.
every the spaces and it's all truthful.
What is
Yeah.
your Simpson reference there? What am I
So
hiding?
that was originally it was supposed to be
And
um,
Friends. Well,
like
Friends. She liked Friends.
not Jennifer Aniston's, and then we
Oh,
got Jennifer Aniston's voice. We always knew Friends was a part of it, but it was written. One of the first scripts was it was like Marge Simpson was her voice, and then when we got Jennifer to sign on, which was before we started shooting, was like a huge win, obviously, and so then we leaned into that and kind of went away from Simpsons.
oh. So, I was gonna say like there's I mean, but then I'm like, oh, 2001. I'm like, but and The Simpsons have been around forever, so who knows? Like,
Right.
I don't.
It's also adorable because Melody, our actress, also loves Jennifer. So it's like, oh yeah, I love us still. Good
Oh, it's
work.
so great. I do.
Um,
I love to like the wear and tear. Like I can look around this room now and be like, why did they put stickers on that? But kids with stickers is like a thing. I don't get it. I mean, I don't know if I don't think I did it, but like now you get stickers at like
right.
every birthday party, you get stickers all the time. There's stickers everywhere or like drawings. Like I have, the kids' art is so crucial in parents' houses where they come home with a bag of it every day.
Totally. Well, in the little family room, actually, I had my artist do Bart, and I had all these amazing characters. They were too good, and then we aged over, and then we
Mm,
did them again and aged over, just because I wanted also this place where that and really low on the ground, so that Melody's been actually
yeah,
drawing, from
yeah.
the beginning,
Yeah.
like and that's where it's accessible to her. Yeah, no, I love it.
This too is great, the shots, because you have mirrors, so you see the reaction of her when even they're, like, across the room from each other.
Yeah. That was a big thing with Amber, like, also in the room when she's getting assessed. We actually built that whole set within a room, so it was one big space where she's assessed and you're
Mm.
watching
Oh, right,
her
the window.
having to see that this horrible doctor is thinking that she didn't
Yeah.
pass the test, and there's that window. Um, that and then I feel like there's another whole big window moment. Oh, when they're in the principal's office, and then she decides to come into the room. It
Right.
was kind of on purpose to do as much as we could to sort of we're seeing Melody and people thinking she's not hearing, she's not understanding, and she's understanding everything. That was really crucial in
Um,
design.
and, making it note, like, the bars on the beds and, like, the
Mm,
parents lifting them and also not having things too I thought for me, like, too intricate of, like, how can they hurt themselves on this? Like, you have to
exactly.
think
Yeah,
about all
totally.
that and, like
Everything higher too. Like I
yeah,
sent you that picture of like then the table that she can do her makeup and she can do her,
yeah,
jewelry as long as it's tall enough for her chair to be able to get it.
yeah,
And Phoebe was great as an actress too. Like everything I could put past her. Like even there's when she gets to her WizKid stand, I took that sample to her and I was like, "Oh, can you press the buttons?" Of course, she showed off and like was smashing, like almost broke my bottle. Which I was like, "Okay, great, you can handle anything. Thank gosh." So, she
why
was,
not? And so here is the
yeah,
analog version of her communication board versus the meteor chalker that you designed, which
yeah. No,
to me, c I would have thought that that was a real like, I have no idea. Like, you're educating people by this too, by, creating these
it's great.
things.
I mean, this was all luckily, Sharon wrote the idea and then we had to make it visual and work. The the best part about this was that Amber was so strong about wanting it to be interactive. So that was not green screen. When
I
Mrs.
saw that.
B and Rose and Mom and Penny, I mean, we have a 5-year-old actor, then these incredible actors. You want something interactive, let alone for melody. So
Yeah.
we between Talia and Dylan and all the just team, we made it working. So it actually all those things that was just on an iPad, and then we made our cover to go over an iPad.
Nice.
But it was all could work in time, which was a huge part of the design to make that happen.
What was your
And
prep on this? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask because like
we
this,
had
you gotta send this out. Like you need time.
Yeah, this was day one. Like, I mean, we had a couple months, but this was day one of design.
Mm.
Like I mean, that's where Amber and I came to the table already ready to go. So, but yeah, no, it was just the design of it, getting it built, getting the color, getting it sorted, and then the actual, getting it functioning it was intense. It was the very like we needed every second we had.
Did she have the communication board? But she's already like in her real life. She already has like an iPad or some
Real
like
life, and actually
what
the
does she
actress,
have?
she can speak. She has
Oh,
voice.
oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so she's playing her acting is that she's nonverbal. And actually, so Thomas Ellison is nonverbal, who's our friend and consultant. And the way he sort of says yes or no, like that she kind of kidnapped from them. They spent a lot of time together.
Oh, wow.
Uh, so I mean, that's the big thing of just educational. CP
Yeah,
has a variety.
yeah.
We think of CP as one thing, and it can cause such a huge vast. There's common things, but not common things. So yeah. So but the character she's playing was nonverbal, of course, and so that's where the device is helpful. Um, so yeah,
I had no idea.
yeah.
This,
Well, that's great. She's an actor.
yeah, she nailed it.
The big
She,
room. Yeah, I mean, I found an empty trailer, by the way. So like I could show you the pictures of it. Like it was in two parts and we had to haul it across town and get
oh
a
yeah.
road and then all the windows in it to put it there. Um, but I love like collaborations with DP is really important. Like that back door, I just put that back in. But he was so smart. No, he was like, he came in the day before and he's like, I'm gonna really see that door. And it was just a brown door. And we
Mm,
had this whole room all and so then I had incredible scenics, Sue and team, and so they painted that. And of course, that's like what you see the most.
yeah.
So I love that collaborations with our department where it's like, I think I've done it all, but then it's like it's always what you go into the close-up that actually does
Well,
matter.
Michael, I think it's that we give them a full room and they pick the one angle that you didn't do, and they're like, "This is where the majority of our shots are going to be," and you're like, "I did the whole room, and this is
I
what you're
try
going
to,
to see."
I try to, I'm
So
spending 8 years.
tomato, tomato, Michael. Tomato, tomato. They could have just moved the
I know,
camera to me.
all right, we had limitations time. I'm like, and I had the time, I could say yes. So I'm like, I'm gonna give you more.
All right,
Here we go.
all right, all right. 'Cause to me, if I was there in the room, I would have said, "What about over there? What about this cozy little reading corner we have? Why can't we just go over there? I created all this. What's
But then can you leave with their phone? So they could do whatever they
yeah.
want. So there you go.
I don't know. And then I leave, and then I'm whatever you want, whatever. Well, and then the
I
on-set dresser has to deal with it.
my latest is I'm like, I give you crayons and you play with them. Okay, great. So just let me know what crayons you want. So
Yeah.
I give you great crayons.
um, it is very important that you have this view of the field though, because that's like,
Yeah. So we built all those windows into the trailer and then
oh
had to
wow.
put the trailer holes back. Yeah. So that we could, and that real soccer field there. And that's really where it was in the school too.
Mm.
Um, and that whole actually we built there was a ugly ramp that went down below and this is talk about script writers it's good to write in a garden we finally had to write in the garden scene so I had could get the budget to build it so we could build that garden in between their trailer and
Oh
the
yeah.
school and it was like so ugly and so horrible and Amber's like no I want a garden I was like okay but it's not I'm building a lot here
Yeah.
but we wrote it in and then I could build that garden in between and the ramp and everything
So the school, you
yeah.
did you to me, I was like, oh, did they have to film a school in the summer when there was no kids there? Like, or did you found an empty school? What'd you have?
It's an empty school that was about to be shut down completely. So it was just totally empty. So yeah, it was just a big empty palette. And even down, it was an elementary school, or even no, it was a high school. So actually, I'm glad at the last scene you see the parents in the hallway, but we took all the lockers out so I could make them more cubbies for elementary kids,
Mm.
which was a lot of work, but really worth it. And then all the work in the hallway, that was all done. So yeah, it was just we had having an empty school, we had it for 3 weeks of prep. I could bring the trailer there, which was so
Yeah.
important, place, and then we could paint the principal's office and just keep adding layers. And then this room, just adding layers upon layers upon, like you just it
Yeah.
would, it's like a sponge,
Yeah.
to get this. It's like that's Jordan's characters he created. I think that's Emily's and Heather. Like they decided to go doing some Picasso stuff for a while. Just keep adding layer upon layer upon layer. Took weeks, but we had the time, thank
Yeah.
gosh. So,
It's hard to do a classroom in like a day. Like they're like, oh, it's a
yeah,
classroom, you have a day
no, there's
prep,
no
and
way.
you're like,
No, yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do this. We had the time because it was ours. It was that became our soundstage really. I was like, well, we don't have anywhere else, so just give me the school as early as you can because
yeah,
nobody else is.
yeah,
And
that's
we could
great.
paint all the outside, we could do that was all painted and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the wide on this and like making it all make sense and its history
Yeah.
and building on top of your sorry to say ugly brown putty color and like building
Right.
life off of that and yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And making his hilarious corner, like we made him like, Mr. Deming's awards and all his stuff was
Yes.
in the corner and the best teacher in the world. I mean, he is, and then the chalkboard, changing that, like
Yeah.
I had the whole I had a whole graph system of who each day, because we're there like 4 different days and what was on there, like that was all done from scratch with the scenics and on-set dressers. Like, I want
It's
it real,
it's usually my handwriting. My
Yeah, totally.
it's like and then
Yeah,
they're like,
for sure.
"Oh, uh-oh, somebody accidentally erased something. Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 50 miles away at another location now,
Right.
so you go for it." Like, like that
That,
has happened to
that
me.
That has usually happened to me too, and so that's why I'm like, it needs to be somebody that's there writing. So
Yeah.
who could
Yeah.
that was one of the concepts. I was like, because you're gonna have to change it if we have to. Because Amber, I know Amber, she's gonna be like, it's too clean. Let's mess it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great, but we
Yeah.
can't replace it.
Yeah. And I mean, they're in the classroom a lot. Like you said, 4 days. It's like and there's like montage in there, I think, and like it's a
Yeah,
big
it's really great.
character. It's a big
Yeah,
character set.
all those desks we brought in, getting the right desks, but then also you didn't want it be easy for her to come through that first time,
Yeah.
all that. Yeah, it's fun.
Um,
I love it.
I love
Yeah.
the Whiz Kid set. So the story is that they have this teacher and he's all into this Whiz Kid competition and then they she tries out for it and things happen and then they get to go and designing any sort of like game show pieces is
Oh
always
my
fun. It is. It's always fun.
It was pure delight. And then to have like this incredible construction team that had the CNC machines. So
Oh
it
yeah.
was back, we designed these beautiful pieces that are just, not hugely, expensive. It just took some time. And each one had like drama or theater or science little ideas. And then it's like big enough that we knew they could be behind their heads, but they could just be these little flats and kind of, I love nooks. So that was kind of the key to have them all kind of behind her. And then getting to paint a floor is always fun,
Yeah. Where
which is
did you
great.
shoot this?
It was this really great theater in Toronto
Mm,
with this big weird red kind of world behind
oh,
it. So it was
yeah.
just an empty stage,
Mm,
which is always fun. And they were fine with that. And then, we also then made all of the buttons and all the scores interactive. So it was like a lot of time with special effects, which I think in post they ended up kind of doing it, but at least but we made them real for the A and the B and the C and D could actually really work. This is, by the way, Tom, who I was talking about, who's the
oh, that's
character.
him. Oh, nice.
It's him playing in Melody Stand and Amber directing Phoebe in the corner. Of course, as you see, we were also still in the height of COVID,
Yeah.
so that was really fun.
It's
That's
crazy.
these kind of things.
I'm still talking to people who have filmed things through COVID or after COVID or like, because the ripple effect afterwards was a long time we were in masks and still getting
Yeah,
tested
totally.
for TV and
Well,
film.
and
I mean,
Amber and I did New Man of God, which was like in the height of, so it was like I created sets that could have ventilation openings.
oh
Like
wow.
we did one whole set was like 7% in one room. So it was like so that they could after like 10 minutes put in the tube for ventilation. So it was quite a time.
I
Quite a
love
time.
the boards back there. I love
Yeah,
that.
those
Like,
are the ones that like just to have the scenes, like to come up with these fun designs, but then, it goes back to then what's going to be fun and close-ups behind their head.
yeah.
Um, and to find these colors that were simple, and these are all Mrs. V's room. It was like, let's use some, like, because in a sense, it's always we think it's sort of from Melody's imagining. Like we want it to be their imagination. Um, and to watch Phoebe the first day, I still get emotional, and then it's in the movie too, with when the stage manager brings her on.
Yeah.
And I got to be there for the first time she came in, and to get to do this story that is so important, start to cry. And it's just like
I know.
getting her to her her stand, and it was just like it's
Oh, I'm
really
sure there were many w like
good.
like, tears on set. I can't imagine in some of these scenes that it's just not heartbreaking even just to film them. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nothing s
The
it's nothing overall like like, bad or cruel, like but it's just
power.
day-to-day life that can be so hard. That's what it's like.
Well, but also then the flip of just the power of getting to do something so positive. That I
Yeah.
think
Oh,
that,
yeah.
really great,
Yeah.
somebody that you think doesn't have anything going on there and actually is the brightest kid in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that. I think that alone is just so important and such an
Yeah.
important story to be told.
And then there's the floor you were talking about painting. The painting floors is fun.
It's always
The
fun. Yeah.
graphically, it
Yeah.
is really fun.
And to
It's
match the board, it's like the, anyway, all the time. I think I sent you like the behind the scenes of making all these, and it's like it takes a while, but yeah, and I love their names and the
yeah,
little shapes,
the
and yeah.
fonts and the color palettes and yeah.
Well, and then also the best thing is then, figuring out when she's supposed to be out of, like, looking at the set, and like the moment when she takes over and does kind of the next round, that was not really planned of like, how do we do that? And it was like, I'm like, we have to do a little tiny time jump. 'Cause
Right.
then so we don't under why, and then put them in the middle. That was the thing of like, what
Right.
should we
Bring them
should
in.
bring them in.
Yeah.
But those are those little moments where it's like, if I didn't run back to set from the past or present, it would be this disaster. It was like, no, we hadn't thought about it, but it was like, I promise it'll be fine. We just bring them right in. We're good. Done. Moving on.
Um, what how many days did you have in the theater? Because if you did paint and
Well, we did that. I mean, it was also this great thing that, like, that weird doctor's office that we built was just like a big space that we built
right.
that was upstairs there. So that helps. I always
Oh,
love, because I love getting to show people things while they're happening
yeah.
too. It's such a great experience so that they can plan things. Because you do and you do, but you don't. So I think we had like at least 3 or 4 days in that theater, which really helps,
Oh, that helps, yeah.
get,
Get it in. And then you have your scenery from the museum
yes.
that then you repurpose, which I would have never known if you didn't show me.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Cinema
It's one of my,
secrets
I'm very
here.
proud of. One of my favorite. I mean, we made these beautiful things for the museum, which are seen, like, but they're not, of course, I love Amber, but she loved mostly that location, like the beautiful wall that's there. Like,
Yeah.
wait, that's why we're there.
Yeah.
Um, so, but we saw them for a second, but then I was like, but then I have to do this entire mall that's empty. I'm like, what do we do? And
Ugh,
it was kind of working with my great construction. I was like, let's put them together. And all of a sudden, they're dress stands and change a few little things. They're already built, so why not? And then put plexi on the shelves, and they can be made. So I think it's just, I did that even like it's kind of, I'm known for it. It's like after sets kind of go, and then what happens is that you sort of put sets and then they kind of go to the corner,
yeah.
and I'll arrive at the, it'll be like 6 in the morning, and then my construction team's like, oh, hello. And I'm like, I'm kind of looking through our kind of back set. I was like, oh wait, can we use that? Even just for that fourth wall, they say they're not going to look that way, but I bet they are.
Yeah.
And which is always, it's like,
Because they're
again,
liars. No. Because they want a shot. They want the shot. They changed the shot. But that's why we're here to be ready and prepared for them. I also I've done many of a like, oh, here's a blank mall or like here's a blank space and just
yeah,
make a whole store out of it. That's a very expensive
right.
a like montage.
Yeah,
Like,
cute, exactly. And then, of course, when they're dancing, they, of course, are spinning around her 360, which is one of my favorite moments.
yes.
It was like, so I got tons of curtains, like back walls hiding all the crew on this whole set are just curtains, glitter curtains up there. I'm just
It
put up as many
works.
curtains, it'll be fine.
Well,
We can spin. Sure,
it
go
totally
360.
works in her imagination too of how magical this moment is. Like I'm getting to hang out with my friends. I'm at the mall. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's great.
Part of the fun.
I didn't put that ramp in here, but where did you do the airport?
Oh, so the airport was weirdly in Toronto. They have a weird side of the airport that is not working, but it maybe is just for like weird destination trips. So it
Mhm.
was a real airport. Oh, actually, though, but the ramp. and the elevator that they can't do is in the theater building. So that's like
Oh,
another thing we could do. That beautiful ramp that she loved. That's like Amber's favorite set is like the ramp that
the
goes
ramp.
to the fisheye of her trying to get up. Um, and then we had to bring in, of course, TSA. We had to bring, it's all this stuff you have to bring in into an airport and design huge art that barely is seen. But you got to cover everything.
You
You got
have
to do
to.
it.
You have to.
We were actually given an airline too that was a real airline that you sort of see, so they gave us a lot of their GAC, which is helpful too.
Were there specific details that you got um that you didn't find in your research that you only got from, I'm blanking on his name, the guy who was your
From Thomas or
the
Thomas or we
w-
um
was
yeah,
there
I mean I
something you would
think
have never thought of? Like you were like, "Oh, thank God we have this guy here." It's like,
well, I mean he just in general like and his dad too of just experiencing everything, I think from both of them. Um I think it's also just the joy of I mean Tom's also in the scene where we're seeing her through the window and
hmm.
there's the couple and he's actually
Oh yeah,
using
he's in
his
the waiting room.
and that's the tango that him and his dad designed, which was hilarious because there was a whole thing of like, they're like, we don't want to use our tango. I'm like, please, you did it. It's yours. Like, we can use it. Please let's use the tango. Um, but I think that was a big important for her to see, this hot couple, like her future and like getting to go on dates and what that's like. Um, I think that's really important. Um, I think, I mean, for me, it was more also with Melody, Phoebe, just her joy. I mean, once putting her into that Halloween costume, like seeing her joy and like and also just she had I felt not to say like she's the Al Pacino of the set, but it's like the way she would come in and around, like she was always so fast. And the same, I go with Tom to go see a Broadway play in New York. And it's like, how crazy a Broadway outside shows. And Tom's careening down to meet me and he comes in and meets me and like people are just jumping to the side and he doesn't even mind. And then it's like he's off and he's off and he's gone. And I just love the power. Like I think that's a big thing. Like I see how much the chair gives them so much power in this really
Right.
wonderful way that and responsibility of themselves. And that's not something I think I probably thought about before. Because you
Mm,
think of, she says it like, don't push me. I sometimes need to push, but don't push me. And it's like, when you're in a chair, you can have a lot. They're so advanced now, which is so great that
yeah.
they can have a lot of their own.
When you were doing, because there's the one part where the father is bringing the ramp to Rose's house and
Oh my
everything.
gosh, yeah, totally.
When you, was there specific, I guess, just for my own curiosity, is there a specific radius that they can or
It's
cannot do?
I love that you brought up all this because it's also I'll get even more personal with the van. So the van that they're using and Mrs. V is using. So my dad got in a chair in the last 5 years of his life. His kind of body froze. So we had a crazy van that then with the ramp, it gets so heavy at that period that going over bumps is really hard. My mom would be so stressed driving it. But then
Right.
we would have those little ramps that you did. And so that's kind of where I went with Rose's house. I'm like, we have to make it as uncomfortable. We need to have the stairs. And so I actually have a video of me trying to practice with it. And it actually didn't work. Like we had to build a little lip at the top of Rose's house to be able to make the ramp work. So luckily we planned it all, but it actually, even those ramps didn't work to get her into Rose's house.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it's not accessible. It's like these simple things we think of, but the way the size of those cement steps and
Right.
those ramps just didn't work. So it's like, no, it actually, so you're onto something. It's like, yeah, there is a science to it, but it's not easy. And
Yeah.
things have to be built accordingly. Um, so yeah, no, I think that was a very good thing for you to bring up.
I thought about it too because of that scene where the her mom puts down the cardboard and like,
Right.
which is like, okay, that's uncomfortable. But then I was thinking, but how, but that's a sin. That's the only room that chicken girl in. And then she takes the cardboard away as if like, you stay
Like,
here.
yeah, you're
You're
there.
done.
We're
You
done here.
stay
It's
here.
such a great,
It was,
great scene. I had no idea that might be awkward. Like that's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really glad we kept that whole world in because it's also she's not a villain too. It's like once it's these
No,
things that,
no,
but
it's,
it's like it's just you just don't think about it.
yeah.
You think you're being, but you're being so rude. Like, it's so rude.
Were there any colors that were off for you? Like we don't want to use black or we don't want to like was there anything?
I think, I mean, I already admitted purple, but I think I love I'm definitely a designer that's a story designer, and I come from theater. So, I sometimes get in trouble in the very beginning. People are like, "What is your colors?" And I'm like, I don't sometimes know. But I think I started going into her worlds and pinks, and then really wanting to have the principal be as wacky, like all her interactive things that she's got in her room, and she's a loved principal as well. Like there's big banners that she's the most wonderful principal in the world. Um, so I think I kind of started leaning into colors. I don't know, if there was things I would avoided. I don't, I wanted things to still always be real, even though there's great colors. But we could get away with it with Mrs. V. We could get away with it in the Whiz Kids. It's like
Yeah.
because I still want it to be something that even like the fun thing that you created for my name here. It's like I wanted it. It's still a teenager movie. I want people to really want to watch it.
Yeah.
Like that's you want it's entertainment too. Um,
I think too what's I mean, I know it's funny that you're doing this documentary now, but it does seem documentary style in a sense of like the realism of the classrooms and the home and the layering and everything. Like you definitely achieve that of like this is her house. Like it doesn't look like a set. It looks like I to me, I would be so glad as the decorator that you shot it in a house because I mean sets are great and everything, but there is always something about like the realism and the layout and the almost they can't do what they want to do with the lighting. It has to come from this window. It has
right.
to like that helps us so much sometimes the limitations of lighting, you know.
Well, and it was interesting. We went back and forth with a big window for blinds or not. It's like that's always the
Yeah.
thing. It's like, no, we need to have it open. It's like we want that opening scene of her there. Like, can we get away with not having any curtains there? Like that would be amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's
that
the big choice because so many times we're told like you go in a location like shear it, just put shears
right,
on it, like just we'll blend it
right.
out or whatever. It's like but there's such a story point for her to be able to look outside and everything and so to embrace that is really great too.
Yeah, no, it was really fun to get to have it's and I think it's once again just having the time and the DP was Noah was there for a long time and him and Amber, we could really work through things and make it actually all your dreams come true.
Yes. Yes. That's
um,
all we want, our dreams to come true.
exactly. Um,
Um, well, I loved it.
yeah,
I loved it, and I really waited to watch it because I was like, I know I'm gonna cry. I gotta be in the right state of mind for this. And so I watched it, and then I watched it again this past week, and it was like, because I focused it on more. But like the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Okay, but there's so much joy in it. It's not like
yeah.
it's not a complete downer movie or anything. There's so much joy in her life and like the excitement that you get from her. It's like such a good
Mhm.
movie.
Well, and also I think and the parents, I think we see
Yeah.
parents that like they're, and when they don't want to sign the form and then they want to do it and like, like when they're, and then when she has her, kind of hunger strike, it's
Yeah.
they want to do the right thing and they're doing the right thing, but then, it's like I love that Amber really shows both Rose and Luke are like Luke joked like in the beginning with me. He's like, "Oh wait, I thought it was just like the dad, but it's like it's on me a lot. Like by her being nonverbal, it's like it's my sets." And Luke, I was like, "Yeah, you and we're in it."
Yeah.
Like it's all you and Rose for the most part.
Yeah.
And they were so down and so incredible.
It's a wonderful story and I very you should be very proud of that work because it's very inspiring to see the project and then to see the environment that you provided for them. It's really great. It's really great.
Right.
Yeah,
It
thank you.
means a lot that you
Yeah, thank
showcased it on an incredible show
Oh,
here.
yes, thank you. So you're working now. Well, this comes out in a couple weeks. This comes out December or
Right.
November 22nd. Was that something like
Correct.
that?
Yeah. It's great.
Um, you're working out, and then when are you done with that? How much longer do you have with the
Get to be
documentary?
to the end of the year, which is great,
Oh,
and be here.
nice.
So yeah, it's
Oh,
really
that's good. Then get a little break and come on up. Would they do it? They wouldn't do it the second book, do you think? I don't know.
they've talked about it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, definitely for sure. There's a love interest. There's a whole kind of thing that
oh,
happens in number two. I know.
I'm
So
in.
it's
I'm
I
in.
know. And I think she can be a little older, which is great. So yeah, she's ready to do it. And then I haven't read Sharon's #3 just came out, which I need to read. So that's
Wow.
there you go.
Oh, that would
She's
be a
out.
fantastic series for them to do. I hope that
Yeah.
happens. It's really good. And like I said, I
You're-
really
you're
think
hitting
about
it around.
I really think about like what age do I show this to my kids? I think it's really important to show this to people, and because I don't know anything else like it. I can't really think of anything else like it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. So I'm so proud of it. It's like finally
Yeah.
real, and just seeing her the other classroom, and I think Amber did such a good job with all the other cast around and Pip and everybody in it.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
just
The casting's
really
great.
incredible. Yeah,
Judith
so
Light's always great. She's
I know.
always
Oh my God.
Um,
She is the most incredible human.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I hope Jennifer invites us to a party one day and we all get to meet each other.
Done. Yes, I'm on it.
Yeah. But yes, I definitely hope I get to run into you, and congratulations on this film. It's really great. It's really great.
Thanks.
I loved it.
Enjoy doing your show,
Yeah,
Doctor.
thank you.
Your doctor.
Thank you for listening. You're the one. um, but thank you, and yes, hopefully I will. It's pretty interesting when you really get into the design of this and seeing how he went from his color palette and his design decisions in the home and the school in realistic and still getting, your design in there. And I'm really glad to have had this opportunity to speak with him about it. And I think it's just, like I said, just a wonderful project that I think a lot of children should see, and a lot of adults should see it too, let's be honest. But yes, Out of My Mind on Disney Plus. Check it out. Next week, I don't know what I have next week. Let's look it up. I forget what I'm doing next week because I got so much going on this week, like everybody else in the world. I don't know, and I don't know if I'll get to it, and I might have to push one. But upcoming, I know I have I know I have myself for Dr. Odyssey, like I've been teasing, and I know I have myself for A Man on the Inside coming up, and The Penguin, and some more Saturday Night Live. We're going to get into that too. So I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wannett for Decorating Pages.